I've totally fallen in love with public art. A lot of people ask me, like, are you upset that you don't get to do theater anymore? But I've really come to love the process of public art. Everything from murals to sculptural trails to our most recent work with All Our Relations. I've never seen a public art piece that takes the incredible beadwork of Indigenous people and takes it to a public art scale. I'm Jeremy Freiburger, and I'm the founder and cultural strategist for Cobalt Connects here in Hamilton, Ontario. I guess my first memory of being involved in performing arts is when my family moved from Brantford to Ancaster, and so I went to a Theatre Aquarius summer school when I was 8, 9, or 10. Eventually I went on to McMaster University and the American Music and Dramatic Arts Academy in New York to study theater. I decided to go to New York because I realized I was serious about theater. It wasn't a hobby for me anymore, and it also opened my eyes up to the whole world of like cultural space. All these spaces that people were using to either learn or express themselves or just interact with other people. So I really got like a crash course in how to use space in really interesting and creative ways. When I came back to Hamilton, I found a community that had grown since I left, but was still lacking some of the things that I felt were really needed for artists to succeed, especially lots of artists that were often working in extremely precarious space. Oftentimes not having good ventilation, not having any colleagues. I basically created this binder of like, here's what artists want and what's missing. We were creating the infrastructure that was needed to support the creative sector. So it was 3 years it took us to convince the standard funding bodies in Ontario that what we were doing was essential to Hamilton being a creative city. Cobalt Connects' official full name is actually Cobalt Connects Creativity, and it's exactly what we do. Whether it's a municipality and their planners, McMaster University and their psychology department, whoever we connect to, we add creativity to the mix and see what the outcome is. We do a lot of consulting with municipalities. We do a lot of that here in Hamilton. It's a fun place to be in because I think artists and municipalities don't always get along. And sometimes the outcome of that is friction. Because of the work we've done over the last 20 years, we've become a trusted partner of the city. Oftentimes we get to be in positions that individual artists aren't because the cities learn that we respect both sides of the table and are a good voice to help sort of find the middle ground. And I think when the right people are involved in projects, they can speak the same language and get on the same page. And when they do, I think the outcome can be amazing. Our organization, like I said, has been involved in probably 100 or more public art projects all over the province, and having read the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action, we said it's our job as an organization to try and do better. And now that it's finally installed, as you walk north on James Street approaching the waterfront, one of the first things you see is the Thunderbird cresting over the skyline. You're greeted with 5 towers that are each 10 feet wide and 40 feet tall, each one depicting the core elements of the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address, which is called All Our Relations. And it talks about the fact that we are all interconnected. And so each panel depicts a segment of those creatures and beings that are important to the Haudenosaunee culture and to many Indigenous cultures. It's a symbiotic relationship, and if we don't respect and understand that, we'll destroy this beautiful planet. So the Thanksgiving address calls out and acknowledges each of those elements within the natural world and says we need to be acting as one. Hamilton Winterfest is a 3-week festival in the dark days of February every year that we produce in collaboration with the city of Hamilton. There are about 70 events across the city, and our job is to program that central site of the Winterfest Hub and Winterfest Pop. We commission artists from across the country to make relatively large-scale public art pieces that primarily engage light in some way, and we install them on this plaza that's on the rooftop of Jackson Square downtown. It's this sort of like city above a city. We power giant neon signs, and then we fill it with live music and food, and then a huge family day celebration, all exploring pop culture in downtown. BLUETTI's products let us sort of open us up on the logistics side of planning a festival. So often the first phase of planning a festival is you sort of figure out where your site is, and then you map everything on that site. What are the restrictions and limitations of the space? What are the unique advantages? Hydro, access to power is one of the biggest things festival producers look for, because it tells you like where things must land. They let us take consistent power wherever it is we end up, and we end up in some weird places. So as an example, the All Our Relations project is now installed in a development site that's not done. So we needed to power a sound system, we needed to have Wi-Fi on site for the vendors. Usually you're concerned about placing things next to the outlets or next to the hydro. The beauty of the BLUETTI generators is that it totally erases that issue from our planning. We can put power wherever we want. Making a mark on our physical landscape is not something everyone gets to do. It's a privilege to get to be in that space as a creative person, and getting the opportunity to turn that into something beautiful and physical, I just think is a rare opportunity. And maybe it's the theater artist in me, because theater's fleeting. Theater's in the moment, where public art stands the test of time. I love that it's this marriage of art and tech and engineering and whatever to come up with this final piece.